What's up, fellow gamers? This video is going to talk a bit about a Castlevania III fan remake project that was recently released and resurrected from the dead. It's been an interesting week for Castlevania and Metroid fans, or Metroidvania fans. Just in the past few days, we've seen a new demo for a fan game called Prime 2D. I don't plan on covering it a lot, as there's been loads of other videos to cover it. But I will say I've played it. It's gorgeous, and the authors obviously had a ton of passion in putting it together. In fact, if this game ever gets finished, and if the final release is anything like the demo, it would probably rival AM2R in terms of quality. Here's hoping the demo will evolve into a full release one day. We've also seen a recent leak of a prototype Castlevania game for the Dreamcast. As far as I know, it hasn't been dumped, and the only gameplay available for viewing is at this YouTube channel called CVR Exists. Pretty sure that channel exists solely for the purposes of showing this prototype off. In any case, there's also a bit of other news in the world of Castlevania, and it has to do with Castlevania III. This was a project that was in the making by some folks for over 10 years, and then it was just abandoned. This kind of happens a lot with fan games, and it's a bit understandable. I mean, after all, legit commercial games have teams of individuals who are on a salary and are able to commit full-time work to game development. In addition to that, they usually have resources of a huge company to throw at a project. So for some fan games, it usually starts with just one person working on a project in the free time for fun. Now, small teams can form organically sometimes, but they usually never get that big. And since all the contributors usually have other full-time jobs, it's not uncommon to see the scope of a project just overwhelm the makers of fan projects. So when this happens, a game can just fade to obscurity and die out. Thankfully, that's not what happened with this project. A programmer that goes by this alias followed what the team was working on and noticed it was abandoned, despite being very close to completion. Now, I should also mention that this person is the author of the Castlevania HD pack for the Messen emulator I recently covered. Super talented programmer. Anyway, bugs were fixed, some features were added, and the project just received an update a few days ago. Version 0.4.5b is available for download now. One feature I'm particularly happy about in the latest revision removes some irritating lighting effects in an earlier revision. Apparently some viewers had some pretty strong feelings about those effects. But with the exception of the lighting adjustments, this person's efforts mostly focus on coding aspects, adding features, and removing glitches. Gameplay seems to be great, and I didn't run into any glitches while playing, and I found it to be pretty fun too. It was also interesting to go back and play the original Castlevania III to see what changes were made. Now, to be honest, the aesthetics are sometimes a little rough around the edges in some areas, but as I mentioned, gameplay still seems solid. And who knows, maybe someone will pick up where the latest updates left off and polish up some of those aspects as well. And as a little side note, the initial project title for this was actually Super Castlevania III. The reason for this naming was that it was to set it apart from at least two other fan Castlevania III remakes that died before completion. In any case, it's nice to see a project brought back to life and playable for fans of the series. Feel free to check out the download page noted in the description of the video below, and as always, happy gaming.